Good morning. Once again, I did not get up early enough to exercise this morning. I'm not mad about it. I am just prioritizing sleep over exercise. And it's not a bad thing because sleep is super important, maybe just as important as exercise. So, not feeling bad about it. All I know is I'm staying on track with my eating plan. Way more important than exercise. I'm not saying exercise is not important. It is, but what you eat, what you drink is so much more important than any exercise you could do. So, and then speaking of that, I have had lots of messages. I know y'all are concerned about all the fat I'm eating. I appreciate it, but I promise you I'm okay. Let me explain exactly what's going on. So there's a lot of information out there in the keto and carnivore community about should you eat high protein and less fat, or should you eat high fat and less protein? And so I have experimented a lot with both ways. I have found that eating the high fat and less protein makes me feel better. It gives me more energy, obviously, because fat is energy. And I have just realized that I feel my best when I'm doing high fat, less protein. And it all comes down to just the standard keto macros. I mean, keto is very low carb, high fat, moderate protein. And when you think about it in that way, that's kind of how keto was intended to be, because the goal is to get into ketosis. And I've just been researching and educating myself again about all of these things. So I had really been focused a lot on the very high protein, very low fat belief, because for the last couple of years I've been trying to get rid of some stubborn belly fat. Won't go away. I know y'all can relate. And so I've been, kind of trying to do the really high protein, really low fat thing to try to make my body burn its own fat for energy. That's kind of the concept of that. Like when you hear about the protein sparing modified fast and like things like that, it's all about eating plenty of protein, but then reducing your fat because you want your body to burn its own fat. And when you're not eating carbs, your body's only energy source is fat. So that's the whole belief behind that. It has not been working for me at all. Not at all. So recently something clicked for me, something changed, and it's all because I came across Candy Frazier. She is known as Primal Bod on Instagram and on Facebook. Go follow her. She's fucking amazing. And so she talked about how she always talks about how she's transformed her body and helped other women transform their bodies by fixing their insulin resistance. And so that just kind of struck something with me. I'm like, well, I need to figure out if this is what's going on for me and how to fix it, because one of the main signs of having insulin resistance is having extra belly fat, and I do. And so anyway, that has been my focus over the last few weeks. I've been reading books, I've been watching videos, I've been reading articles, I've been doing all the things that I do every time I want to learn and educate myself about something. So that's what I'm. So when you hear the word insulin, you automatically think diabetes. And if you don't have diabetes, you think, well, that doesn't affect me. Well, what I've learned is that you can have insulin resistance and not be diabetic. And insulin resistance is kind of what causes everything. It affects everything in your body. And so you have to fix insulin resistance. And so I've been learning a lot from Dr. Boz. Her name is Annette Bosworth. She's an internal medicine doctor. She understands keto. She understands all this stuff. She's amazing. She has a book. I've been reading her book, been watching her videos, been doing all the things. I also got the book from Dr. Ben Bikman. I've been watching his videos on YouTube. He's amazing too. And so the bottom line is insulin resistance is very bad, and you have to fix that to fix other things. And so it all comes down to decreasing how much insulin your body is. So this comes down to why I have suddenly started eating a little less protein and a lot more fat. Because what Dr. Boz explains is that, you have carbs, you have protein, you have fat. Those are your three macros. When you eat carbs, that increases your insulin the most. And so you don't want to eat carbs, basically. You want to get rid of the carbs because they really spike your insulin. Protein, and this surprised me. This really surprised me, and this explains why I actually feel bad when I eat really high protein. When you eat protein, it also will spike your insulin. I did not know that. And it doesn't spike it as much as carbs, but it still spikes your insulin. So that is why with keto, you're really supposed to eat moderate protein, not high protein. So that surprised me, but it makes sense. It makes a lot of sense. So when you eat fat, there is a very, very slight insulin response. Everything that you eat has some type of insulin response, but apparently when you eat fat, it is such a low response that fat does not really spike your insulin. And so this brings me to why I am doing this. So Dr. Boz has explained that when you have really high insulin in your body, it kind of locks down your fat storage. It won't let you access any of the fat that you have stored in your body. And so if you decrease your insulin and increase your fat, it's like it opens the doors to your fat cells. It's like it unlocks your fat. So when you increase your fat, get rid of the carbs, decrease your insulin, then your body is then allowed to start losing fat. So I started keto in 2019. I've been doing this for a long time, and I have understood the entire time that high fat is good because it's an energy source. When you decrease your carbs, you need the fat for energy. So I get that. However, I have a new understanding of a lot of things. Like when they say eat fat to lose fat, I never really understood that, and now I understand that. Now it makes total sense because you get rid of the carbs, you decrease your insulin, and you unlock your fat cells so you can start losing fat. So yeah, that's amazing to me. And so that is why you see me eating very high fat right now, because that is what I'm working on. I'm working on decreasing insulin, improving my insulin sensitivity, getting rid of the insulin resistance, and ultimately losing fat. Okay, I've been talking way longer than I intended. I need to get to work. I just really wanted to explain how this all works to everybody, because I know that there are lots of you out there who are struggling to lose weight, struggling with losing fat. And I just feel like this is like a hidden secret that nobody knows about. I mean, people know about it, but nobody understands it, because we've been lied to all of these years about how eating fat is bad for us, when the truth is eating sugar is bad for us. Anyway, that's a whole nother tangent that I could go off on. But I'm hoping that this information helps somebody out there. If you're struggling to lose weight, or even if you're just struggling with some health issues, get rid of the carbs, decrease your protein, and increase your fat. And it just might help. Okay, wait a minute. I have to go back and I have to clarify something. I do not want anyone to think that they should not be eating protein. You absolutely have got to hit your protein goal every day. Protein is important. So I'm not saying that. I am not saying don't eat protein. I'm saying eat what your body needs. So figure out how many grams of protein your body needs and make sure you hit that goal. What I'm talking about is, like, for me, like, it would be nothing for me to eat like 180 grams of protein in a day, because I just love to eat meat and eggs. So, but that was too much for my body. So right now I'm like staying around 65 to 70 grams of protein a day. So I am not saying don't eat protein. Please do not misunderstand me.